Welcome to day one of Fed Supernova. Special thanks to Amazon Web Services. We are excited to have you here today. My name is Bobby Struzik. I'm going to be your MC today. But before we get started with some content, I have a few housekeeping rules. Please update your Hopin profiles and add your LinkedIn to your profile as well. This will be important during the networking portion of the day. We ask that you engage and connect with each other by introducing yourself in the chat, sharing your LinkedIn profiles, and make sure to use the stage chat on the right-hand side of the screen. Be prepared to ask questions to our presenters throughout the conference. If you have general questions or feedback, shoot us an email at fedsupernova@capitalfactory.com. Remember, we have people who are watching from home on Hopin and at Capital Factory here in Austin, Texas. If you are watching at Capital Factory, please download the Hopin app on your phone to engage with our online audience. You can find the QR codes located throughout the entire building. We want everybody to participate in our networking. You never know who you might meet. So what we'd like to do now is we'd like to pass it off to Awais Sheikh, who's going to give us some opening remarks today.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Awais Sheikh, and as a strategic planning and innovation manager here at AWS, I got to say it's such a privilege to be joined with so many fellow like-minded enthusiasts that are working to try to bring innovation into the defense enterprise. And on behalf of AWS, we are honored to be sponsoring the DIU track here at Fed Supernova. At AWS, we recognize that innovation is the key differentiator that's going to help the US and our allies maintain a strategic advantage over our adversaries. We're excited not just about our partnership with DIU, but with the entire defense enterprise to drive mission outcomes leveraging the cloud. I want to just take a few brief moments to reflect on how we see AWS in the cloud helping to enable innovation for our customers and the DoD. One of the things that we pride ourselves on here at Amazon and AWS is that we are pioneers. There are a lot of technology companies that buy innovation through acquisition. And that's a strategy that works, but it's not our strategy. Our focus is on hiring builders that can examine customer experiences, find how they're flawed, and figure out ways of reimagining them, leveraging technology. So how do we bring that kind of ethos to DoD? You know, my favorite definition of innovation is a really simple one. It's one that says that innovation is fresh thinking that adds value. And that add value part at the end really focuses on starting with the customer. For DoD, that means getting closer with our mission users. We got to figure out how do we bring cloud and our various different services, compute and storage and AI, ML and serverless and so many other solutions and services. How do we bring them to the warfighters, to the service members, to the sailors, to the airmen and women, and to the commanders that are at the front lines defending our country? Finally, I want to reflect on the fact that in its short history, DIU has really focused on the importance of collaboration to bring innovation into DoD. And it's not just collaboration with large federal systems integrators and contractors, but rather it's bringing in non-traditional partners like startups and technology vendors, anyone who has an idea that can benefit the defense enterprise. That spirit of collaboration and reducing the barriers for anybody, any company with a good idea to be able to quickly take that idea to market, that's at the core of AWS. We have millions of active customers and tens of thousands of partners that are leveraging AWS, and that makes us one of the largest and most dynamic communities that's out there. Chances are that there are some use cases that those customers are running that are going to benefit DoD and the defense enterprise. And the good news is, by becoming an AWS customer, you plug into all of that innovation, that feedback, that input that we get from our customers. Not to mention the power of leveraging the cloud to collaborate through our ability of provisioning new environments and leveraging our security controls to make sure that only the people that need to have access to data have access to that data. So as AWS, we're extremely proud of collaborating with this ecosystem. we're really excited about the conversations that you're going to be hearing at this event. I personally am really excited to hear from folks like Mike Brown and Heidi Shu, who are at the forefront of bringing innovation to the DoD. Up next is Lieutenant Colonel Andrea Castillion, the newest member of the Defense Innovation Texas team located in Austin, Texas. Andrea, over to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Awas. That was a great introduction. And thank you, everybody, for being here. We have to admit, we live in unprecedented times, a global pandemic, supply chain shortages, energy, water resiliency challenges, and we're entering an era of great power competition where our adversaries are modernizing faster than we are. The bottom line is we need your help. Thank you for joining us today at Fed Supernova, where we'll be talking about these challenges. As DIU's Austin City Lead, I want to welcome you to the DIU exclusive track that will highlight our role to help solve national security challenges by accelerating commercial technology into the Department of Defense and acting as a center of gravity to help transition and scale technology across the joint services. So how do we do this? We do this by working with our partners across the entire military and government to understand their problems and leverage our relationships with venture capitalists and the private equity community to solve those challenges faster and cheaper. Let's watch this short video.
The United States government is the world's largest customer, providing reliable revenue for companies. In the past, barriers have made it difficult for commercial technology companies to work with the government, such as complex bureaucracy, opaque processes, and slow progress. But today, that experience is different. The Defense Innovation Unit is the only Department of Defense organization focused on fielding and scaling commercial technology within the U.S. military across sectors. DIU helps minimize upfront costs, as well as reduce the time to award and ultimately facilitate full-scale production. We do this through streamlined and transparent processes, rapid decision-making, and scaling successful prototypes. Our process starts by soliciting commercial solutions on our website that address the current needs of our DoD partners. If you want to work with DIU, you must respond to an active solicitation on the website in which we seek a particular product or technology. If your technology is relevant to a specific solicitation, you'll simply send us a short brief in response. This brief should demonstrate the current capabilities of your company and how those could apply to the specified problem statement. We will reach out to you within 30 days to schedule a pitch if your technology is suitable. Your pitch should demonstrate your proposed solution and include an estimated cost. Companies with the best potential solutions to our DoD partners' needs are invited to negotiate a full proposal. Finalists are awarded a prototype contract within 60 to 90 days from start of process. The Defense Innovation Unit minimizes the time it takes from problem identification to prototyping a commercial solution and implementing it in the field. By connecting your company to this powerful DoD network, DIU's agile processes, contract authorities, and diverse team of experts can accelerate a path to revenue for your company. Learn more at diu.mil.
So as you saw in the video, we understand the difficulties companies face when trying to work with expansive organizations such as the U.S. government. One of the main goals of DIU is to lower those barriers to entry, open the front door to the Department of Defense so it's easier for commercial companies to do business with us. We have a great lineup today, and we're excited to have you join us on our journey this afternoon as we dig into how you can help us solve some of our country's most pressing challenges. Today's DIU series includes 6 panels. Panel 1, the threat that walks among us. Panel 2, powering our future. Panel 3, getting capabilities to the market faster. Panel 4, building a capable and trusted drone ecosystem. And panel 5, 3D bases of the future. But before we start talking about specifics, we have a real treat today and are super excited to hear from the Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering, Ms. Heidi Shu. Ms. Shu is going to highlight her strategic approach, outline her priorities, and talk about the challenges startups and non-traditional companies can help us solve. As DoD's Chief Technology Officer, Ms. Shu oversees groups like DIU, DARPA, the Missile Defense Agency, Space Development Agency, and the DoD labs. She sees everything between basic R&D through prototyping and experiments with a budget of over $100 billion. Next, our DIU director, Mr. Mike Brown, will host Ms. Shu with a fireside chat to discuss how her priorities will move the nation forward faster and ensure we're prepared to face any challenge together. Mike Brown had his first career in Silicon Valley running 2 Fortune 500 companies, Symantec and Quantum. Mike then came to DIU after 2 years as a White House Presidential Innovation Fellow, where he co-authored a Pentagon study on China's participation in the US venture ecosystem. You'll hear today about one of the initiatives that came out of that paper, the National Security Innovation Capital, or NSIC. And this is used to fund dual hardware technology companies. So it's my pleasure now to turn the conversation over to Mr. Mike Brown.
Well, thank you, Andrea. Appreciate that very kind introduction. And thanks to all our friends at the Capital Factory who for years have been helping DIU bring innovative companies to the military and get those solutions adopted. I'm very excited today to introduce to you my new boss, Ms. Heidi Shu, the Chief Technology Officer of the Defense Department. And she's really perfect for this role. She's had experience in government at a very senior level, the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Logistics and Technology, or ASALT, if you like the acronym, and also some experience from the private sector where she's been the VP of Technology Strategy for Raytheon's Airborne Systems. In her confirmation hearing at the Senate Armed Services Committee just a few months ago, she emphasized the role of non-traditional innovative companies to serve national security challenges, which is really what Fed Supernova is all about. And I can tell you firsthand, she's bringing a new level of energy to the Pentagon, both in sponsoring adoption of commercial technology, as well as in a key role that we'll spend some time digging into. She's leading for the Deputy Secretary of Defense, the Innovation Steering Group, whose mission is to scale innovation across DoD. Never before has innovation and commercial technology had this level of spotlight across the department. So welcome, Heidi. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Thank you, Michael.
So let's talk a little bit about your role as Chief Technology Officer for the Defense Department. Tell us a little bit about how you spend your time and how you're thinking about priorities in that role.
Sure. Before I jump into that, if I may just kind of describe the organization, research and engineering, what we do. We have multiple different organizations. Let me just shed a little bit of light about what we do, okay? Then I can dig into the details.
Perfect.
First of all, my goal is to harness this nation's incredible amount of innovation, right? To stay ahead of our adversaries and enable seamless integration of critical technologies to be a force multiplier for our U.S. military. That's my goal, okay? And within the research and engineering organization, you've heard about DARPA, which is a Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. And they've been around here for more than 50 years, okay? DARPA's role is to create advanced technologies that provide revolutionary advantage to the warfighter, okay? DIU, of course, Michael Brown is the lead, the Director of Defense Innovation Unit, was created under Dr. Ash Carter to bring dual-use commercial technologies to the military for an obvious reason. The commercial industry is far outspending the U.S. military in terms of research and development money. So we ought to be leveraging them and bring their innovations in, okay? SDA, you heard a little bit earlier, that's a Space Development Agency that was stood up in 2019. And again, their mission is to accelerate the development and fielding of the next generation of space capabilities by leveraging commercial satellites. So again, you see the commercial link, okay? Missile Defense Agency you heard about. Missile Defense Agency's role and mission is to defend the U.S. homeland by developing a layered missile defense system to protect the U.S. Okay. And then within my organization, there's 3 other organizations I'll just briefly touch upon. There's a research and technology organization, and their role is focusing on emerging technologies. They work very closely with universities, federally funded research and development centers, or often it's called FFRDCs, as well as UARs, university affiliated research centers. Okay. And they also work with commercial and defense companies as well. Plus, they also have S&T linkages into our allies and partners. Okay. There's a modernization organization, and their focus is really on the critical technology area. They're the single belly button on critical technology areas. Okay. And then there's the advanced concepts organization. Their job is really to prototype and experiment, okay, and deliver solutions, innovative solution to enable the joint warfighting capability. Okay. So that kind of encompasses a big picture perspective of what the research and engineering organization does. Okay. So going back to what you started out earlier talking about, I talked about my goal. So the path forward that I see that's absolutely critical is, first of all, I'm a full believer in teamwork. Okay. We've got to collaborate across our technology ecosystem. Okay. Namely, I want to see stronger partnership and collaboration across the entire ecosystem so we can collectively solve the toughest technical challenges, right? And bring a solution space much quicker to our warfighter. Okay. I want to leverage commercial companies' R&D. I've already talked about that. So I can accelerate the incorporation of the latest commercial technologies into the DoD. So we can shrink the development to production timeline and get the fielding to the hands of the warfighter much quicker. Okay. I also believe that we're in the process of creating a campaign of rapid joint experimentation. And this is an initiative that was started by SECDEF, okay, Kath Hicks. She stood up the innovation steering group with a goal of pushing innovation much, much quicker. So there is a funding that's called, that was set aside to do rapid joint experimentation. So what we have done here is working with our joint staff to understand what are the capability gaps at the joint fight. Okay. And then from the capability gaps that's articulated, we went to the services and asked, okay, where are the solution space, right? Do you guys have ideas? Do you guys have products you want to deliver so we can conduct this joint experimentation? Okay. And then the results of the joint experimentation can inform us, does this particular product close a specific capability gap? And if so, how do we rapidly transition it? Okay. And if the capability, if the product desires another iteration, and then we go back into the feedback loop. So the desire is to have multiple sprints, okay, per year. The first sprint was then internally because I think was time limited, okay, and we are learning from that. The next sprint we're setting up next year is we want to expand the capability in terms of having federally funded research and development centers, as well as companies to propose their products. Namely, bring your product. If you think your product can close a capability gap that we articulated, we'd like to be able to experiment with it. Okay. So these are all the things that we're doing under the Innovation Steering Group umbrella. Okay. And the other thing I think Michael and I talked about is there's a lot of innovation centers across the DoD, right? It's I'm trying to get my arms around the multitude of innovation centers, all doing rapid development and hopefully a rapid experimentation. So we literally are doing investigation who has what, right? I'm trying to understand each of these different innovation groups. What is their role? What is their mission? What are they focused on? And what are they buying? Who are they buying stuff from, right? And what is the capability of the product that they're buying? And how successful have we been in terms of transitioning? And what are the lessons learned that we can improve our processes, right? So sorry it took so long, Michael.
No, I think there's a lot to cover. First of all, big organization, and a lot is changing, which is pretty exciting. And you talked about a number of things that I think everyone listening is excited about: the leverage of commercial technologies, the acceleration of the timeline, more joint experimentation. So I think we're excited to see some of this come to fruition. Maybe some advice for some of the companies who are listening. One of the things that even though we have a number of innovation organizations, we still have not been able to make it easy for companies to, I heard you say, find the front door of the Pentagon and then find a way to work with DoD. So as we try and lower the barriers to working with DoD, maybe you could share a little bit about your advice for companies about how they should think to plug into these efforts. What would you like to see us do, maybe even DIU do, to lower those barriers, to make it easier for companies to find the front door and get access to Pentagon contracts?
Yeah, so Michael, this is something I heard repeatedly when I was on the outside, especially helping out some of the smaller companies. That within the DoD, it's like it isn't one person that you call, right? It's multiple phone calls. Who knows who knows who? So you're doing this hopscotch across the pond to figure out who's the right person to talk to. Okay. I think DIU has done a marvelous job of working with basically the users to identify what problems that they have, right? And from the problem space, you're going out to commercial companies. Who has a product that can solve this problem? And the fact that you can provide the ceiling funding to them, it really helps the innovative smaller companies to really nurture their ideas and build their product and showcase it. So DIU is a great entry into this. I will tell you, because there's a multitude of different organizations also doing different things. I just came back from Huntsville last week, visiting Army's Rapid Capability and Critical Technology Office. So they are also what they're focused on is to go to two of the Army program executive offices and trying to understand what is your capability gap? What solutions are you looking for? Then they go out and ask for white papers to industry. Here are the capability gaps we're looking for. And they get hundreds of white papers coming in. Okay, so they evaluate the white papers. And from the best ideas, they basically, I think the last tranche, which is the third iteration, they selected like a top 40 white papers and invited industry to come and brief. 30 minutes to brief your ideas. But what they did, which I thought was smart, is the top 40 they selected, they actually gave them $5,000. This is your travel money, right? It helps out the little business, incentivize them to actually work with the DoD. Okay. Then the top 40 are coming in. And by the way, people sitting on the source selection, namely who has the best idea, are the users, the program executive office folks who are looking for these ideas. They're saying, hey, this is really great. I want this company to be funded. So they've plugged in the user group and the acquisition folks with the Rapid Capability and Critical Technology Office. So they have three different entities tied together. And so once they do the final down select there, those are people they rapidly give contracts to. Okay, so that's working quite well. But I'm in the process trying to understand what are the other organizations doing. At the same time, I want to let you know Jen Bird, who's on my innovation steering group. I've asked her to reach out to the Small Business Technology Council, because they actually have tens and thousands of small companies that they represent. So I said, and I had a 1-hour phone call with them, and that was prior to confirmation, and to understand, what are the impediments that small companies have, and what are the things we can do differently. Okay. One other thing, just to let you know, we're going to be requesting legislation on the Hill to give us the ability to fund multiple tranches of the small business innovation research funding. There's SBIRS 1, which is usually $500K, SBIRS 2 up to $1.5 million. Usually what happens after that, unless the program office picks up, you fall into the valley of death. We're proposing to have multiple phase 2 tranches money to continue to mature the technology, to basically pave over the valley of death, right? Okay. So we're definitely all ears in wanting to hear about some additional challenges and help us to come out with ideas to help out the small businesses.
I'm sure that's welcome to everyone listening. 2 ways I think that we're looking to pave over that valley of death. The DIU has started the National Security Innovation Capital Initiative this year, deploying the first funds that Congress allocated, so we can get more, we can catalyze more private investment in dual-use hardware technologies, because our venture capital and private capital through whether it's venture, private equity, et cetera, adequately funds our software industry, but the military needs hardware, and that's been hard capital to come by, except from adversaries. So we're looking to be able to find friendly sources of future hardware technologies and get those vendors going, areas like batteries, quantum sensors, things like that.
Yeah.
And also exciting this year in the NDAA is the Warfighter Innovation Scaling Fund. So prototypes that are successful that we might work on, now there's a fund, if the appropriations follows, to be able to take successful prototypes and make sure there's money to scale those ahead of them being programmed in the Pentagon budget cycle, what we call PPB&E. So I think a lot of efforts underway to pave that valley of death that we're looking forward to doing. Let's shift a little bit to the future. So some of the priorities that you have for the future, technology areas that companies might want to be thinking about as they plan their investments, so that where they're investing can help us in the national security space.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for asking. I think the first thing that I'm very much interested in, there's been billions of dollars that's spent on AI and ML, as well as the autonomy area. What I'm interested in is the development of a trusted AI ML, trusted autonomy, because the first time this unmanned platform does something that the user didn't anticipate, you're going to lose trust in this unmanned system, right? So I want to have the ability to have trusted AI, ML, trusted autonomy, okay? The other priority area I think is very important for me is, we typically have signal intelligence, radar systems, electronic warfare systems, cybers. They're all in different stovepipes, okay? But we need now to operate at the intersection of those capabilities to address the advanced threats. You don't have the time or the leisure to say, I detect a bad guy, then I'm going to track it, and then I'm going to do something against it in terms of electronic warfare. You got to do it much, much quicker, right? So our system has to be designed so that it can operate in the intersection of those capabilities, okay? Clearly, resilient networks is critical because if your network goes down, you're not able to connect, and that's a bad day, right? So resilient network, command, control, and communication to enable us to have the seamless connectivity is critical. Okay. I will also talk about the other thing that I'm very interested in is AR, VR, and live training. Is this technology is really maturing by the gaming industry, right? I want to be able to leverage the commercial technology that's out there and figure out how we can leverage that to enable us to have distributed operations so we can enable rapid mission planning and command and control, right? In a low bandwidth environment. Because guess what? In a contested environment, you don't have all the bandwidth that you would like to have. You may not have 5G, right? So how do you enable that operation? Okay, so that's going to be really important. Of course, in the area of directed energy, I'm interested in high energy lasers. Okay, I'm also interested in high power microwave, hypersonics. It's a little bit harder to look for commercial hypersonics, but you never know, right? In terms of what's art of possible out there. There's assurance. There's on the software and processing side. I am very interested in having assured software. Okay. Again, you want to be able to trust the software that you're developing, and that's one of the very difficult issues that we're dealing with, right?
You want to define that a little bit? You're talking about ensuring the validity of the code, that it's not been tampered with?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And then in the area of emerging technology, I want to touch a little bit upon that as well. There is absolutely a race in the quantum computer world, right? And you can see that there's all kinds of innovative small companies that's being funded by venture company. I think at last count, there's over 100 different companies just within the U.S. that's all focusing on quantum computers, right? So, in my interest, I'm interested in obviously in quantum computers because it potentially could have the ability to break encryptions, right? So I want to make sure that we can develop and design and develop quantum computer that's scalable, okay? In the area of biotechnology, I'm very interested in having the ability to do sensing, avoiding surprises, and utilize biotech to help us in resolving logistics problems, okay? And then advanced materials is a huge area in terms of we're interested in advanced material that's stronger and lighter weight, right? Materials that can operate at higher temperature, right? Materials that give us higher reliability, right? All of that, materials that gives us higher efficiency, right? All of that reduces cost, reduces maintenance. So all of those things I'm interested in. Okay.
And maybe a good time to mention our newest portfolio at DIU is advanced energy materials. So looking at the advanced materials, plus also how can we be greener, which is not just about climate change, but how to have a more resilient force that's not tied to a supply chain. And then another priority I know that we have is cyber. So that affects almost every technology that we deploy these days, and we got to make sure that they're secure.
You bet.
So a lot to focus on, and we're all supporting and cheering on your success. Well, appreciate your taking the time. We'll just see if you have anything you want to close with here, Heidi.
Well, I want to thank you for this opportunity to kind of share some of my thoughts with you. Unfortunately, I'm not there in person. I would much rather to be there in person with you. But hopefully when we get over this COVID hump, I'll be able to meet with you in person and chat a little bit more about what we're doing within the DoD. So thank you very much. It's been fantastic chatting with you guys.
Thanks, Heidi, so much for being with us. We're very excited about your role as CTO and leading the innovation steering group. There couldn't be anything we think is more important than scaling innovation across the department. So looking forward to working with you. And maybe just for all our listeners, we really need your capability. I know Heidi's very committed to this. We can't do what we need to at the Defense Department alone, just with federal dollars anymore. We need all of the innovative capability that you're bringing and solutions you're developing for the commercial market. So we're looking forward to working with you a lot more closely going forward than maybe we even have in the past. So thank you so much to Capital Factory, to you, Heidi, for being with us at this event today.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.